guys, and welcome to my video on forgiveness. I know it's heavy-duty subject matter, but I've wanted to discuss forgiveness for quite some time now. You know, it's interesting, with all of these metaphysical attunements, energies that I am privy to, that I've studied all my lifetime, it just amazes even me, having the metaphysical information at my fingertips, and yet there's such an innate desire to discuss something that's so universal like forgiveness. Why forgiveness? Because you simply have to embrace it. It's healthy to do so. And looking back on all of our lives, we've all been hurt. We've all had, rather been at the mercy of, you know what, God only knows what. It's almost sometimes in life, it's like a story that's told over and over again. But it will continue to be told until the lesson is embraced. And the lesson, of course, being letting it go. However you've been wronged, you can hold on to the resentment, but ultimately, the resentment wastes a lot of your energy. So what good is it? Holding on to a grudge and resentment ultimately helps no one. So you've got to get yourself into that place where you don't have to necessarily say to yourself, I need to understand where this person comes from to forgive them. You don't. You never have to understand at all. In fact, why get into the quagmire and emotional and psychological quicksand of trying to understand where someone else is coming from? Just find that divine and holy place inside yourself where you can forgive anyway. The reason why you can't always expect to just go up to somebody and say, you know, I hate to say this on video, but you schmuck, I forgive you. The reason you can't do that is because there are some individuals that are incommunicado. There are some individuals you'll never be able to go up to and forgive. There are some people in the heavens that may or may not hear you. As a psychic, of course, I do come from a different persuasion and understanding that sometimes there are those in the heavens that do need, actually, forgiveness in order for them to move up to higher plateaus. But regardless of what your spiritual understanding is, forgiveness is essential. And bear in mind, if you are magnanimous enough to forgive others, don't forget to include forgiving yourself as well. You might say, forgive myself for what? What did I do? Well, who knows? Maybe you didn't do anything. Maybe the worst that you did, though, is allow resentment to vampirize you, drain your energy, and again, letting it go. The word forgiveness really has a lot to do with that meaning. That's what it means. Letting go. The word forgiveness, indeed, has a specific, meaning. It concludes resentment, anger, and indignation. So when you think in terms of forgiveness, though, quite often you have to also not have an expectation of some restorative justice. It's just that by embracing forgiveness, no matter who has trespassed against you, what you do ultimately is you liberate yourself. You're free of the anger. You're free of the prison cell of resentment, indignation, and that anger that will ultimately, over the course of time, chip away at you and be your unraveling. And sometimes what we've seen, even in previous reads, is forgiveness ultimately leads to some form of truce. Truce we've ultimately seen as a stepping stone towards peace. So as we've noticed in previous videos and readings, it begins with that notion of, you know, ultimately no one's to blame. Like all these energies come from higher places, and they have higher purposes that maybe we don't understand, including the indignations. No one's to blame, everyone's responsible. And ultimately, you're responsible for you. You're responsible for how you let it go. Nothing hurts me more, having done this work for 4 decades, than those individuals in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, my clientele, that are still hurting, smarting, seriously injured by some psychological or emotional trauma that occurred to them when they were 6, 7, or 8 years old. And there they are still, to this day, caught up in, stymied by, it appears to be irreversibly damaged by something that happened so long ago. When does their life begin? When they let go and forgive. Forgiveness is a gift that you give yourself and you give to others. And we live in a realm of duality and a realm of choice. And you don't have to forgive anybody, but you should. And it's going to make you very healthy. And it's ultimately going to make you very happy. And it's going to make the entire organism that you're in very happy. It's like removing a rotten tooth. You remove that toxicity and everything ultimately becomes more radiant. So, if for no other reason, do it for yourself and you'll ultimately live, of course, a happy life. You know, probably one of the greatest stories ever told is Christ nailed to the cross and at a moment of taking a last expiring breath says, God, forgive them. They know not what they do. It's very telling. That said, while we're in this very serious realm of forgiveness, let's see what the vibrational field would say when we're of this mindset. I'm using Amazonite, by the way. Powerful crystal. There you go. Okay. So let's see what the energies have to say when we've put ourselves in a very divine place. Whether you are studying Judaism, Christianity, Islam, whether you are discussing and studying Hinduism, Taoism, every single religion embraces the notion of forgiveness. Okay, so in doing so, here's what the energy fields say. First vibe. The Devil. Very interesting. A very misunderstood card. Capricorn ruled. The Devil is ruled by, in my painting of course, young Pan, the cloven-footed god of the forest and of flora and fauna. He's just having a good time. Over the course of time, people judge him and say, you know what, he's having too much of a good time. He's no good. Let's critique him, let's judge him, let's demonize him. But you know what the Devil represents? The feeling of, it doesn't matter what you think about me. They're going to judge you over what shirt you wear tomorrow. His notion is, my third eye's wide open. I am a creation of God. I am enjoying my life and I'm actually doing good. If they need a scapegoat, my cloven feet, then they can choose to make me the scapegoat. But I and God know that I'm all right, so I can see above the fray of what everyone else thinks of me, and I'm okay. So, ironically, speaking of all the divinities and Jesus and all the religions, take a tip from the Devil, also created by the whitest of light. Be the master of your own life. And as long as you're good, you are steering a very beautiful and divine ship. Let's take a look at vibrational field number 2. That's potent stuff, my gosh. Number 2 says this. Okay. Pitch black. But again, this is the state you find yourself in when you don't forgive. I guess you could comically almost say, it's always darkest just before it's pitch black. But really, in reality, it's always darkest just before dawn. So if you don't forgive, which is what the universe wants to tell us, we just saw what happens when you do. You're the master of your own life and it doesn't matter how they judge you or condemn you or demonize you. But if you don't forgive, you are in the absence of all light. That's not a good place to be. So, we've just seen a duality. So let's go to the helix of the pyramid and combine both the good and the bright light, the difficult stuff, the challenging stuff, and the rewarding vibrational fields. What does it ultimately all say? The vibes suggest that it says this. Communicate. Couldn't be that simple. Broadcasting what you feel. Say it. Now again, like I said when the video started, you don't necessarily have to go up to someone, and you may not even rather have the luxury of going up to someone and saying, I forgive you. And you don't have to. Say it in your heart, that's all. Say it in your heart. But say it on some level, whether it's in a prayer, whether it's out loud, or whether it's a thought, and thoughts are things. This is the way ultimately you reach the bridge to the divine. Now, could I do a zillion videos on forgiveness? Frankly, yes, I could. This could be part A of A to Z on forgiveness. And when this YouTube video ultimately comes up on YouTube, you're going to see a lot more videos connected to Daniel's version of forgiveness that are going to go into lots of depths. I've looked at them myself, and they were quite, at times, my eyes are actually red from crying. I mean, people that lost a lot of people they loved due to horrendous behavior of others, atrocities, and yet each one of them ultimately found the strength within them to rise above it and forgive. So don't just check my video out, check all the ones interwoven into mine to get a big picture of what everyone else is saying about forgiveness too. May you ultimately feel that liberating sensation of what it's like to forgive, to feel free, to be liberated. That's what you